Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you. On this video I will be talking about the first couple of episodes of the new Hulu miniseries. It is called Dopesick. I'm going to be talking about episodes 1 and 2 which were put up today. And first episode is called First Bottle and the second episode is called Breakthrough Pain. So I'm going to be summing up my thoughts on them and some of the sort of takeaways from it. So yeah, pretty big new series. It's based on a novel which is sort of based on true events, and it's the story of this new drug, new in the 1980s at least, which is like a new sort of painkiller, and the drama goes into how it's like marketed and how it's targeted at like this small town community. In particular, you have a local doctor played by Michael Keaton, who's like respected in like this small mining town, and how he becomes the target for this new drug. How it's essentially, at one point it's mentioned that small like southern towns like this, working class towns, gets targeted for like rollout of this drug because it's because there's a lot more injury, there's a lot more sort of heavy labour goes on in this town, so they're seen as needing this kind of thing. And what it is then this drug, which is based on a real life drug, is like a narcotic. But we sort of see some of the politics and some of the shady like business practices of the company behind it, how they're not completely truthful with the consumer about how addictive it is, about some of the drawbacks. And we see the behind the scenes stuff. So you have a character played by Michael Stromberg. I'm getting actors' names muddled up there. Who's sort of was left the business by his father, and he's desperately trying to pitch to a board the advantages of this new drugs, and there's doubt over whether they should press forward with it because of how much it's going to cost them. And it just gets across how really for these kinds of people the bottom line is money. I mean, they're all concerned about it could bankrupt this company if it doesn't sell well, and we just see how something like this becomes like a commodity essentially, even though it should be about, well, can it be good for people's healths, that kind of thing. And we get a bunch of different characters. The main sort of character who's like affected by this, apart from I guess Keaton's doctor, is the Caitlin Denver character, who's like a young girl in this small town. She works in the mines, which is like a family type tradition. We see a very religious side because her family's like strict sort of religious, and it kind of means she has to hide her relationship with this other girl. She can't come out as being lesbian, or doesn't feel she can because of their beliefs, and she's actually effective and you know is given the drug by the Keaton character because she hurts her back in a mining accident, and at the same time she's considering moving away with her girlfriend Grace for a new life. And obviously the back injury puts hold to that, but it's like she's wanting to push through the pain almost, and stay at work for as long as possible to make the money to move away. And obviously this drug becomes important for her to try and stem the pain. And so it jumps back and forth various timelines because in the most up to date timeline, like in the mid 2000s, I think it is, like 2005. There's a trial over all this. There's an inquiry, because these two characters, one of them played by Peter Sarsgaard, they're like district attorneys who are like pursuing this case, pursuing the company, and sort of looking for the best angle really to try and prosecute them. You also have this character Bridget, played by Rosario Dawson, who's like a DEA agent who could be a useful sort of source for them, but she's hesitant to really give them much information because she's just worried that the big wigs at this firm will just like, sort of really turn the tables on them and really, sort of cover up at all costs kind of things. And we see that she goes undercovers at like pain relief centres and stuff like that. So, as I said, a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different perspectives. You've got Barry Levinson, who's directing these episodes, the first two actually, Rain Man, bunch of films, and Danny Strong is the creator and writer of it. Of course, Jonathan from Buffy, but has sort of gone into like writing and producing since then. Also produced Empire, and it's very engaging. I think it sort of does what it needs to do. You've obviously got a somber cast in this, and I think it took me a bit of getting into. I think at times it's a little bit dry, and I think there's a few like random uses of music. I think there's like a Johnny Cash moment, a Johnny Cash bit of music which is used, which maybe was a little bit jarring, but then other bits of music are quite well done. But I think it's got a nice sort of steady pace into it, and one thing I will say about it is, and I think it actually makes it very accessible, like the subject, considering you're jumping about these different perspectives, and there's some quite complex stuff in there, but I think it does a good job of like presenting it in quite a engaging, sort of interesting and easy to digest sort of way. I think it sort of focuses on some sort of buzzwords and some very humanistic, sort of understandable type examples. And I think the Caitlin Denver character is a good way into this drama. Again, a bit like Unbelievable, I think we see how she sort of sort of disappears into a role like this, and manages to be a very small, timid sort of gal who's just very believable in a number of different roles. And I guess it feels a bit like they're sort of pushing an angle a bit because of her. They're obviously focusing on her being lesbian in particular because it would be against, her sort of parents' like religious sort of beliefs. But considering, this is partly set away back then, I guess that's fair enough to do. But I think the human side of her character and the effect of what's being done here is really effective, and she really sells the pain very well and her desire. And also I think it's a good depiction of small town life and like just the desire to like escape it and the restrictions, because by the end, you definitely start to see her desperation to get away and how much pain she's in, and you see how close a bond there is between her and the Michael Keaton Doctor. It's a nice performance from him, actually, because he's sort of very understated and he's kind of playing against type in a way, but it's a meaty subject and I think it's very well handled. I don't think it's that hard to digest, but the politics of it, and I think although this kind of taken liberties and there's probably a lot of stuff that's thrown in that's sort of done for dramatic effect, but it certainly feels like a very credible, sort of believable type drama. And there's stuff in here like the politics of this company, and in the second episode, like where they're starting to look at like the figures of the sales, and you have obviously the Stromberg character who's does like a good job of playing this sort of cut off sort of guy who's very stern, like, and sort of not really like communicating with his wife, and is almost in a world of his own, and he's just like a machine. He's got like tunnel vision, and there's almost something tragic about him, even though he's a very like cynical sort of character as well. But there's something tragic about him, how he's followed on in like his I think it's his uncle's footsteps or something like that, whoever like owned the company before, and it's just like this is his life now, and he's like trapped into it. And I think that's part of the theme of this drama, about people's lives and them being kind of restricted and trapped into a certain way of life. They're set on a certain path and they just struggle to escape it. So in the second episode, it really gets into the weeds of how the process of trying to promote this drug is accelerated. We see like a reveal because they keep seeing this like promotional video, and it's one of those very like realistic sort of adverts that you see on TV where people are like waxing lyrical about this product, or like they're sort of like a bunch of talking heads, and it's sort of revealed that basically they were lied to about what they were promoting. They were told it was a general health sort of thing, and like the attorneys just noticed that they only mention the actual product once, and they find out later that it was put in post production that mentioned. And the interviewees who were patients of this local clinic were like encouraged not to actually say the name, just to say it like a generic sort of term. And the doctor himself, when he's interviewed, he actually tries to defend it, even though many of his patients have suffered at their hands. And we see how there's this sort of tactic at one point to double the dose, basically, because it like doubled the profits, even though like the Will Poulter character, who's like this salesman has contacts to Keaton's doctor, he's questioning this. Well, what if it doesn't work? And we see a little bit of apprehension from him, even though he sort of goes along with it and does his job. And the second episode does really get into like the tactics and the process a lot more. We see him eventually talking the doctor, Phoenix it is, into going to this weekend retreat where you've got all these guest speakers. So I think once the wheels get in motion of the drama, I think there's a lot of engaging stuff. There's a lot to sort of get your teeth into, and a really fine cast, some really intriguing characters, some intriguing ideas, and I think it's sort of sharply written in a way where it can be understood, and there's definitely some humanistic characters in there. So I think I'm pretty positive on the first two episodes. I think it's a good solid drama with some nice direction and some meaty sort of like dialogue and interactions with the character. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Bridget, the Rosario Dawson character. It was a bit dry at times, but I think I would say about halfway through the first episode is when it really sort of starts to get going, and I'd probably say I like the second one even more. It's quite an easy watch actually. It sort of goes in quite well, where it doesn't really feel like a drag, because but both the first two episodes were like just over an hour, and you didn't really feel the length, or at least I didn't. So that's Dopesick, the new Hulu series, which I will continue with next week. Both episodes are up now, but I think it's one a week after that, so look out for more. I'll be doing episode 3 next week. Look out for my next review. Please like and subscribe, share me out on social media, and also ding the bell on YouTube to get notifications. And let me know what you thought of this opening 2 episodes of Dopesick in the comments below. Like and subscribe, as I said, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.